Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a possible second episode of the podcast. I'm going to be having a call with a client, so I may uh, use this call as, some strategy stuff. We're going to be talking about some strategies. We're going to be talking about some stuff that we're planning for content as well. So I'll try and fill you in afterwards on what was already covered in the talk, but I'm only going to leave this recording running just so I have possibly the time to snip at some of what I say, and etc. I'm going to try and get into a habit of trying to create some more genuine content just from conversations I have. For example, something I'm planning to do moving forward as well is to start wearing a lavalier microphone whenever I go into meetings or etc. Just so I can have the audio, possibly to have an audio experience opportunity there. Whether that means I end up recording me video wise as well is beyond up to debate at the moment. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy whatever I cut together here. Obviously, I will be cutting out anything that is specifically private or specifically confidential or etc. But enjoy. But hey ho. So yeah, I'm briefly going to talk about a strategy, just in case the phone rings. That may be why we randomly cut this. But talking about a strategy that I'm going to be probably writing a blog post on, as well. So I'm going to just currently doing as well. It's going to be hard to talk and also type this comment, but a strategy I've just developed on Instagram and something which I have really been trying to utilize a lot more in regards to what I'm trying to do with the business and the brand and the kind of content I'm trying to create has mainly been just to develop a more of a community and a relationship with the people who are around my content and people who I talk to on a semi-regular basis. So this morning I put out on my story and also on my Twitter. I got a good response on my Twitter, mainly talking about specifically how much content do you create on a daily basis and how could you go about optimizing your content creation process. Now, most of the interactions I got from that was mainly people thinking about how to create more polished content or specifically how to create content that they would describe as professionally made or etc. or something close to that. But I see content from my perspective now. You can have two forms of content, really, in my opinion at least, where you mainly have a situation where you have your polished content, so things that like your promotional videos and your professionally made interviews and that kind of thing, that are obviously going to look and hopefully sound better than you just doing it on your phone. But then you have the more raw content stuff on Instagram stories, Snapchat stories, the things where you try and have a conversation with your audience to build a connection, and also trying to weave in as much mentions and location tags into those, mainly talking about Instagram strategies here, but trying to weave in those strategies that I've talked about in blogs before, and I'm happy to talk about in more detail in regards to how and what. But I think that the majority of the time when you are creating content, and you should be creating content, you should be look to also trying to add value whenever you can, and also trying to be in a situation where you can create a conversation to increase your overall natural engagement with the content that you're going to be producing anyway. So, for example, today alone, I have been tweeting out just what I've been doing, and people have seemed to be enjoying that and seem to be getting some response from it at least, which has been interesting. But moving on to the Instagram specific strategy, which I was kind of talking about a little bit earlier. And as I say, if we do end up having the client phone call, I will end up probably cutting in some of the bits that we talk about. But the strategy specifically as it sits at the moment is mainly, and I've found a good amount of growth from it. I'll be writing a blog post about this where I'll show some screenshots of how my profile visits has basically really, and the engagement wise has gone from single digits, low hundreds to now nearly 1,000. And I think if I continue to do what I've been doing, by tomorrow, e.g., Monday, the 27th of January, 2020, I will be able to ideally, hopefully, get around about 1,000 people or so looking at my account in the last 7 days, which is a nice milestone to have, and it has actually been growing my following. Now, that hasn't mean I've gone up and I haven't grown specifically by 1,000. All that has mainly meant is I have grown probably, I would say, between 20 to 30 followers within that period of time. But what you will find, hopefully, again, as I experiment with this and as I try, that you will sort of be able to build a relationship with those people, and then they're more likely to comment and like and share your content when you do end up posting it, because you are, doing the same for them. So you're building a real connection with those people, and you're trying to, from what I find at least, trying to add some value to their conversations or their communities, to kind of make sure that you're not just being like, oh cool, I'm going to spend 2 seconds and double double tap this because I like it or it was really cool. If you really genuinely like it, then you should be able to write a informative comment on whatever that may be. So if it's a photo, for example, I commented on a really, really cool photo of the sunrise at Tower Bridge this morning. I believe it was this morning. May have not been, but it was a really, really cool photo. I love the colors. So I just simply just said what I loved about the photo. And then I ended up getting some engagement back from the creator who had created the photo. We had a kind of small dialogue about him thanking me for the comment and appreciates it and that kind of thing, and he ended up checking one of my videos out on the page as well. The amount of videos and stuff that they will specifically check out on the feed will be mainly more what jumps out to them, specifically if they do come through to your feed. But it doesn't even, some people may not even necessarily come through. But something that I recommend to a lot of the people I work with now is, if they do put out content, always try and be in the comment sections specifically. So if someone writes you a comment, because I see this quite a lot where people just go down and like all of the comments they have on their posts, and that's fine. But from a consumer's point of view, it's a bit deflating, because it's like, okay, cool, you spent 2 seconds to double tap my comment, great. If you like and then respond to that comment, that will mean a lot more to that person. I think that if you're going to try and build a following on Instagram or following on Twitter or following anywhere, you need to try and be very easy to talk to and be very open, and not be worried or necessarily overthinking about how to create content. More just go into the process of documenting and sort of stating your opinions. And if you are being genuine and honest, I think that you'll actually develop a following. And I think that part of how I'm treating content now is more as, it's stuff I'm going to try and document and try to have as I go about my day to day anyway. I'm going to try and go about with my day to day and see if I can be in a situation where I am able to create video content very easily, or specific motivational, specific strategies, because I will just have a camera with me, or I'll be in a pitch meeting, or I'll be in a catch up meeting with a specific client. Now, depending on the client, would depend on whether I film it, but my plan is at least to wear a microphone. Now, they may ask about that, and I'll just explain, while I'm only planning to look at specific sections, that I might say in a pitch or whatever, because of course there will be private conversations that we have, and I would like to keep those private for obvious reasons. But I think that could be very, 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 very good. Also, trying to engage your audience through using the tools that Instagram gives you. For example, using polls, using questions, using those kind of tools that will really, really help with your engagement, in my opinion. And I think I've found a lot of growth from that as well, because your audience really feels a connection to connect what you're talking about. So, for example, if you're looking to reach out into some content, for example, yesterday on my way to London, I reached out to my audience and asked if they would be interested in hearing my thoughts on some of the books I've been listening to. Because those who don't know, I have been getting back into audiobooks and that kind of thing. So, they're mainly more marketing wise, or, mainly more strategy wise, or business books, or etc. The self-help books, those kind of things. Like, for example, I'm listening one today that was all about how to stop yourself procrastinating and that kind of thing, and really get to the point where you can optimize as much of your time to create as much content as possible. Because what I say to a lot of people who may have even critiqued this podcast, for example, has been mainly to look at what they're doing and try and be everywhere. And I think that if you can create high quality, valuable content, not even necessarily high quality in regards to production, but high quality in the respect to how much value you can bring to the people and to your audience, and to your audience, and also appreciate the people who do take the time to have a conversation with you and do have there's nothing worse than putting up a post asking a question, then no one answers it. We've all been there. So you got to just try it and keep posting up questions and trying to engage with people, and then you'll work out what your audience wants to have a conversation about specifically, and wants to engage with you on. So something which I found very useful today was at the moment I've got quite a few outstanding projects and bits and bobs that I want to do, and I am currently going to do my best to be able to pursue those and be able to generate content through those and allow my clients to have the stuff which they've hired me to do as soon as possible. But one of the ways I've found to not really be stressed about how much work I actually have to do specifically has been to allowing myself to give myself time to specifically plan it and specifically make a to-do list. Was talking about being everywhere, and the concept of being everywhere is kind of something which you can take either way, but I think that if you use a situation, for example, where you have, you know, um, a load of stuff you really, really like. So it could be a bunch of images of your favorite city, or it could be, a really, really stunning image, or etc. Um, you know, just go and be valuable in those comment sections. I briefly talked on this a little bit earlier, but what I do personally is I try to be in the locations I care about. So the main strategy goes really around the locations and being valued in those location tags specifically. So when you go onto Instagram, just go into the search function, type in, so for example, London, and then go on to recent posts. And then you will have everyone who's ever used the location tag to post to. And basically, then you will be able to comment on those and trying to be a avid member of their community and their society and that kind of thing, and try and add some value. So if you see a way they could improve their photo, for example, or the message that they're saying and how they could articulate it better, then feel free to tell them that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that specifically. It's constructive criticism. It's the point of the internet, I think, in some ways as well. But also, be specifically careful, be respectful, remember that you're on a public forum, so your branding is important and how you come across is also important as well. So, I try to stay, if I can't think of anything valuable to say on a post, I won't comment on the post. I won't like the posts. I rarely like posts because I feel it's a bit kind of too easy. If I really, really like a post and I really enjoy a post or a comment on a post or a video or a photo, I will always drop a comment on it, because I know from a creative point of view, getting a comment is a lot more valuable to the algorithms and also to the person's self-esteem than just getting a like. That's a metric you should look at, and also getting percentage regarding views is also a metric you should look at, but it doesn't, I think it's a little bit too easy just to double tap when you like something. Because you don't take the time to appreciate and enjoy the piece of content that may be. But yeah, this is a bit of an impromptu podcast, so I might do a couple more of these, and I'm kind of enjoying the idea of doing podcasts. It gives me an opportunity to sort of add some value to anyone who ends up listening, and then also kind of having a situation where we can really talk a little bit more openly about, specifically what's going on, or specific strategies that I'm using, or specific things that I'm thinking about specifically in regards to projects or in regards to websites and etc. Talking about websites, at the time of recording, I am currently in the process of redoing my website currently because of a meeting that I had on Friday that basically I realized, I sort of knew this, but it was sort of more a validation to sort of know that my content specifically on the website was subpar, and I think that the website specifically was also subpar. So I've taken that to heart, and I've said, and I've looked at the website, and I've taken a lot from what I've learned from having a blog specifically, and I'm still having a blog. Don't worry, those who follow the blog, we will also be having a blog, but it's going to be moving over onto the company website along with all the other content that we're going to be doing, along with this podcast as well. So by the time this podcast comes out, hopefully, excuse me. By the time this podcast comes out, hopefully that website will be complete in its first iteration, and I want it to mainly be the place where I post the majority of my content. So you can go and find all of my content there, those who are interested. So we're going to have videos up there. We're going to have behind the scenes photos. We might have some albums of some of the shoots I've done or had done, specifically if I don't plan those projects or those images to be used in other places. Also, it's where my personal blog is going to be still. That blog will still exist. I still really enjoy writing blogs. I've got more plans for the blog. I think it could be really interesting, and also kind of funneling all of my kind of efforts and all of my traction into one place, I think is really going to help my brand grow as well. And as I say, adding value. And if you do find value from this podcast, then I do really appreciate you supporting the podcast, listening to the podcast, and also enjoying the podcast as well, hopefully. So, of course, as I said in the first part, I will obviously have a situation where it's going to be only my opinions. It's going to be only, a situation where it's only really my biasy. But of course, that's going to happen. But I think that because of the way I'm doing it, I will eventually grow it to the point where I will invite guests on. We may have conversations with clients. We may have conversations with friends, etc. That I think kind of thing is when common topics emerge. But yeah, I think we're going to leave it off for there for now. And yeah, it's gonna be an interesting year. And I mainly just wanted to cover that strategy today. As I said, I will also be sort of covering some of the other aspects when it comes to Instagram, so the strategies I'm using at the time and how I think about stories and etc. If you do have any questions specifically about, why I have a podcast, how do I create content, why do I create content, what should I write in blog, how do I start the blog, etc., feel free to reach out to me, whether that's directly through DMs or in the comment section of this. I haven't, again, decided the real formats of the podcast yet, but I imagine there'll be ways to communicate to me through them. So thank you guys for listening, and I'll catch you very, very soon.